talk about Caitlin Clark. Two things. We've got Candace Parker saying these WNBA players, these hating-ass WNBA players, should check themselves directly into therapy after they did their little, they thought they were going to be cute, vote Caitlin Clark as the 11th best guard in the league, when really and truly all it does is expose the mental illness known as Clark derangement syndrome that is running rampant throughout.
Right there. That's the real state of the WNBA today. A league that almost looks like it's fighting its own brightest star, Caitlin Clark. Think about it. Her fellow players ranked her the 11th best guard, even though the stats show her dominating the league. So the big question is, what's really happening behind the scenes?
Candace Parker, by the way, she made some comments about the Alyssa Thomas foul and saying that, yeah, it should have been a flagrant 2. It should have been a 1-game suspension. Again, I disagree. That's fine. Upgrade it to a flagrant 2. But now the WNBA is in a bind with Congress because they decided to treat this like a run-of-the-mill flagrant 2 1-game suspension.
Candace Parker spoke out on the Alyssa Thomas hit, pushing hard for a flagrant 2 and even a suspension. But the actual punishment? Barely a slap on the wrist. And here's the problem. When you go easy on that kind of aggression, you're not protecting your players. You're basically opening the door for it to happen again. Now the league's learning a hard lesson. Fail to police your own house, and people outside start taking notice.
Wholeheartedly believe that there needs to be some rules with the WNBA players because this is getting out of hand. Caitlin Clark voted 11th best guard by WNBA players. That's crazy. Kelsey Plum finished 12th in player rank, but she be percolating all over your defense. You be chasing her downhill on screen.
Unserious work.
It's kind of...
Something's clearly broken in how this voting works. Think about it. A system where players can settle personal beef instead of judging what actually happens on the court? That's a real problem. Just look at Kelsey Plum. Her stats are elite, no argument there. And yet she landed 12th in that same player vote. 12th. When you put up numbers like that and still get buried this low, it's hard not to see bias staring you right in the face.
I wholeheartedly believe that you should not be able to vote for your own teammates. Because even in the NBA, it got crazy. Like last year, like Bronny received so many votes for like All-Star. You know, it's just, I don't know if the players should. Do you think the players should have a vote? Or you think their vote should be, like, I don't understand the weight.
Now people are starting to ask a bigger question. Should players even get a vote when their own friends and rivals are on the ballot? And look, this isn't just a WNBA thing. Over in the NBA, we've seen the same mess play out. Times where the vote felt less like judging talent and more like a popularity contest. Or worse, a political move. Strip away the professional label and what's really left? Human ego. And that's a shaky, dangerous foundation to build league-wide awards on.
Almost seems like it's a tool to create controversy at this point. Because you're shining a light on how peers feel about certain players, and it's very obvious they've made it personal. It's obvious it is when you're voted the 11th best guard in the league and you're as good as Caitlin Clark. It's obviously a personal vendetta. If you remove the player vote, then you take the vendetta away.
Something strange is happening in women's basketball, and it looks a lot like it's happening on purpose. Every time a new ranking drops, it doesn't just tell us who's good and who's not. It sparks a fight, and that fight always seems to circle back to the same handful of names. Take Caitlin Clark. When she gets ranked as the 11th best guard in the league, nobody's actually arguing about her stats. Anyone who watches her play knows exactly what she brings to the court. This isn't about skill. This is about something else entirely, where she stands in the pecking order among her own peers, and whether the people voting actually want her at the top. And that suspicion many fans already had. It just got a lot harder to ignore. Here's what makes this even messier. One player came out and shared where she landed in the same player vote, 8th place. And when people pointed out how low that seemed for someone at her level, the response was almost too honest. If you're already sitting near the top, Why would anyone bother voting for you? Like your success works against you. Think about that for a second. The exact thing that should earn you respect from your peers is somehow being used to leave you off the list. That's not competitive standards. That's gatekeeping, plain and simple. And when you stack up what fans see with what players are actually voting behind closed doors, the gap is too wide to blame on basketball philosophy alone. It gets even more revealing when someone brings up Aya Wilson. She landed at 8th too, a former MVP, a legend of this era, ranked well below where anyone watching the sport would put her. So the question starts forming on its own. Is this really about performance? Or is it about which players fit a certain image and which ones don't? Because Aya Wilson and Caitlin Clark are not just great players. They're the new face of this league. And somehow, both of them keep getting quietly pushed down the ballot. There's a pattern buried in here, and it's bigger than one vote or one season. Someone even brought up Kelsey Plum, pointing out she doesn't fit whatever unspoken checklist seems to be in play either. And then the conversation went back further to Candace Wiggins, a player many believe got pushed out of the league entirely because she didn't match the mold the locker room wanted. That's not a rumor from nowhere. That's history repeating itself. Talented players getting sidelined, not because of what they do on the court, but because of who they are off it. And here's where it gets personal. One voice in this conversation didn't hold back. She admitted she never liked Diana Taurasi as a person, but she still would have voted her in as an all. She hated losing to them for years, but she still would have given credit to Maya Moore, to Sylvia Fowles, because ignoring that level of talent would be dishonest. Her point was simple. If you can't separate your personal feelings from what you're watching on the court, that's not a critique of the player. That's a mirror pointed right back at you. Ranking Caitlin Clark 11th isn't a basketball opinion at that point. It's insecurity wearing a disguise. And insecurity dressed up as analysis doesn't just hurt one player. It holds back the whole league. Then the conversation shifted to the fans, because this isn't just a locker room problem anymore. It's everywhere. Someone brought up Angel Reese fans genuinely arguing she's already better than Candace Parker, a comparison that doesn't hold up under any real basketball logic. And that's when it stopped being about basketball entirely. That's tribalism. Fans picking sides based on loyalty, not performance, and creating a cycle of noise that drowns out the actual game being played. And once that noise starts, it doesn't stay in the comment section. It leaks into everything: how players get voted on, how the media frames a story, even how discipline gets handed out across the league. The inconsistency isn't subtle anymore. It's sitting right there in plain sight for anyone paying attention. The most frustrating part: this league has real momentum right now. Stars like Caitlin Clark have pulled in more eyes, more debate, more energy than this sport has seen in years. But none of that matters if the foundation underneath it is cracked. Fans can feel it. Analysts can feel it. And eventually, the people signing the checks are going to have to feel it too. So here's the real question hanging over all of this. Does this league actually want to grow? Or is it more comfortable protecting an old, broken system just because it's familiar? Because you can't have it both ways. You can't ride the wave of new stars and new attention while quietly punishing the same players who brought that attention in the first place. Is this just some locker room drama that blows over in a week? Or is it a warning sign of something much deeper? Something structural, something that's been building for years and is finally boiling to the surface? If you think this voting system and the politics hiding behind it are actually hurting the future of this league, hit that like button right now and drop a comment telling me exactly why. I want to hear it. And if you want to keep following this story as it unfolds, because trust me, this is far from finished, make sure you're subscribed. More is coming, and you don't want to miss it.